Yo, what up? What up? It's Chris. I'm out here in, I don't know, central Pennsylvania, northeast Pennsylvania, I don't know. Staying at a little Airbnb, trailer park on one side, and then this beautiful lake over here with swans and like little birds floating, and you hear the birds in the background. It's been an interesting couple days, right? Like I went up to Otsego County, Otsego. I got to figure out how to pronounce it, and it's weird. So just starting off with that, we go to our land that's in Flat Creek. It's up near Cooperstown, and the name of the county is after indigenous people. Yet there are no indigenous people there. Like literally less than 1% of the population in that county is indigenous. You didn't see a single indigenous person, but it's named after indigenous people. You get up there, and on the way there are a ton of Trump signs, and Trump lost back in November, right? So people still got these signs up. We ended up at a biker bar, and I had wild conversations with like this one cat who builds his own cars, has like 4 or 5 motorcycles, little pet goats and donkeys and animals. Then he gets into a story about how his wife tried to burn down his house and kill his pets, and like it's wild. But these cats with the long white beards, and they ride motorcycles, and you would think they don't want to deal with black people. We have really good conversations. The bar owner is actually from Brooklyn. He's moving up there and took over this bar, and he wants to make sure that it's open to everybody, which includes rednecks, right? And so this concept of diversity has been on my mind of like what that really looks like in a country as large as America, 350, 360 million people, and with folks from how many different countries, theoretically hundreds of different countries live in America. And where black people stand, because like my folks are from the U.S. No one in my family is from outside of the U.S. So I'm American. I don't have another country to claim as my home. I don't have any other lineage to claim. And it's not because I'm lost. It's not because like I don't know my history. My history for generations and generations is American. And I know other people believe they know their history and they can go back 400 years. I think a lot of that's bullshit. I think a lot of people, if you even look back 2 or 3 generations, you don't know what the fuck happened. And maybe there are a couple instances where there were like records or like people wrote books or there was some reason people would be able to know what their family members did, but a lot of it's bullshit. And so I've been thinking about myself, and like when I go to these rural areas, like is it safe, and like going out and being on our land in the woods, part of that is to make sure there's safety for people that are black, that are trans, that are queer when they go into rural areas. That's part of why we wanted to purchase this land, is to encourage people to enjoy nature, encourage people to explore nature, encourage people to get out of the cities and get some respite, get your mind right, find some mental clarity. And I understand why people don't normally want to do that, and how. Yeah, sorry, I get like such bad reception out here, and why it can be off-putting, or it can be like anxiety causing to go out into the woods in the middle of nowhere, because historically that shit isn't safe for black people, and we know what's happened in rural areas to black people. We know why we moved to the cities, but the question is like, are those cities good for us now? Like, can we buy land in these cities? Are we treated fairly in these cities? Are we targeted by the police in these cities? Do we get the health care we need in these cities? Do we have access to wealth in the way that if we owned land, we could? And it looks like in these cities, we're not able to buy land. It looks like in these cities, we have to be renters, and then we're at the whims of the landlords and the owners. And so I've just been thinking a lot about that. And you go out to some of these rural areas, people are buying houses for $60,000, $90,000. And a person will be like, well, I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. You don't necessarily have to. You can buy the land and then rent it out to other people that can't afford it. Like be a landlord, generate money without doing anything. You're taking care of a house, but in the sense of like, you still can go to work and live in your city and maybe amass some wealth, or maybe have equity to then be able to purchase something in the city in which you live. But I've been thinking a lot about this. So we're driving through, and like for the most part, when we were up near the land in Flat Creek, didn't have any problems with locals. There were a couple people that looked at us funny, whatever. But then we start driving down and through Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, it's different. You go in the store, the Bammers do not talk to us. The Bammers are not friendly, are not nice. And we drove by this one house where it had a Confederate flag, MIA, POW flag, and a Marines flag. And that bothered me. Like, it kind of took me out of my zone for a second, because, like, I've been feeling good. I've been enjoying myself. You hear the birds, the bees flying around. It's been a really natural, like fulfilling couple days, going up on the land, chopping wood, moving things, foraging, and finding mushrooms, not, like, trippy mushrooms, but, like, seeing that they're edibles on our property. Apparently, there are ramps and other things near us. And so I've just been feeling good about life. and I see these Confederate flags and the military, and I start thinking like, damn, bro, like we overseas killing other people in the name of freedom, and you still support the Confederate flag? That's a secessionist flag. Like, if you are American and patriotic, how do you support a flag that represents motherfuckers that were anti-American? And a person would be like, well, the regular American flag is not about freedom, it's not. And it's like, I get that as a black person, but I don't think most white people think the regular American flag represents white supremacy. So then when they do support the Confederate flag, that's clearly either you're anti the American Union or you support secessionism and slavery. And either way, how you in the military with that flag, how you a police officer with that flag. And then I started seeing all these Blue Lives Matter flags. And we in a part of the country where it's 98.5 white. Why you got a Blue Lives Matter flag? What are you fighting against? What cops out here? Ain't nothing happening. I haven't even seen a cop car out here, right? And so it really started making me think, like, I got to argue with people up in New York sometimes or when I travel about the reality of systematic and institutionalized racism. Like, they don't believe me that it exists. And then you see it. It's in our military. It's in our police forces. It's in our government. That there are people who are secessionists. There are people who are pro-racism, pro-segregation, basically the history of slavery, and pro-white supremacy. And sorry if this keeps going in and out, but I'm, again, out in the middle of nowhere. And it just started bothering me and making me think, like, how are we going to get past that? And I posted some pictures of what some of the signs were up here and some of the Trump signs. And a lot of my friends immediately were like, look at these idiots, look at these animals. And I feel you. But on the other hand, how do we move forward? If everyone's looking at each other like animals and not like humans, what's progress? What are we going to do? Literally, like, eye for eye till we all blind? We've been doing that, right? And I got it. I went through a time period where I was like, fuck Trump, fuck these Republicans, fuck everybody. But does that get us closer to love? Does that get us closer to humanity? Does that get us closer to one understanding of we are all going to end up in a grave? And so what do we do in a time while we on Earth? We're going to hate each other for the majority of the time? Is that what the program is right now? And I get it that as a black person, I didn't start this racism. I didn't start this sexism. I didn't force people to come to America and shit. I didn't create the laws here. But now that I'm here, what am I going to do? What plan of action am I going to take? And as long as we all fighting each other, what happens? And like, it bothered me. Like, I was sitting there like, yo, I can't believe like there's so much vitriol and like so much like distance between communities. But it makes sense. If you in Brownsville or you in certain parts of Flatbush, how do you have any experience with white folks that isn't pretty horrible, you know? And if you out here in the middle of nowhere, you're not around black people to know that we awesome. You see TV, you see the media, and you hear all the bullshit that spreads lies about us. And so that's why I'm always talking about representation. That's why I'm always talking about why we need to own our own shit and why other people shouldn't be able to tell the world who we are, and what we do. That who you know that's Jewish unless Indian people run their news outlets. Who you know that's Irish and let Saudi Arabians run their news outlets. Who you know that's Qatari, but then lets Argentinians dictate what they look like around the world. Nah, it's only black people that don't own their own platforms. Yet we get spread around the world because for some reason people buy the Ames, the Home Depot, but ain't nothing really popping out here. And you look at the health of people out here. I feel bad for folks. And I remember when I was going through Texas, I met a cat who had been strung out and who was living in a park at the time. And I remember being like, yo, it's bad off for these white folks out here. And so then that's part of why they don't understand the situation of racism, or they don't understand what's going on with black folks, because their lives is not popping out here in certain parts of the country. We went through coal country, Pennsylvania. Yo, you should have seen how the houses are looking. So people looking at me like, dog, you live in Brooklyn. You pay how much real? Is it all of a sudden white folks don't have a hard time in this country sometimes? And instead of there being a unified understanding that all of us are the proletariat and we are in a struggle with the capitalists, why is it people keep wanting to think capitalism will save us? Capitalism hasn't saved anybody except the rich people that are already capitalists. And sure, it seems like capitalism is the best economic form for social mobility, but that's not true. And our understanding that like socialism limits social mobility, that's not true. Our understanding that communism means everyone has the same thing, that's not true. And there's this false notion that capitalism will save us. If you just work hard enough, you can have all the fruits of your labor. And it looks like, nah, you can work your whole life in a factory or wherever else out this motherfucker, a coal mine, and you will not have all the fruits of your labor. You can work as long as you want in these big cities, and you will still be a renter, you won't own, and be at the mercy of your landlord, right? And so a unifying factor is that we all are proletariats. We all are the workers. Some of us have a little bit of money. Some of us may own a house, but in the sense of being a capitalist and like having the money, having the capital, having the access to natural resources, being able to dictate whose water gets shut off or on, being able to say who has power, who doesn't, being able to say what hospitals accept who or what insurance. We don't have that to do because the hate is so deeply embedded right now. People are so quick that if I were to put up a Trump sign, someone would be like, Chris, you're an asshole. You hate black people. You hate queer people. You know, and if I put up a Black Lives Matter sign, people who are like, you hate white people and you only care about black people. And it's just all like, yo, where's the discussion to figure out what I think, what I feel, what we are trying to do to solve the problems that we all face as community? And whether that's local community, whether that's county, whether that's state, whether that's federal, you know, and then all right, sorry, I'm back. And then you get into the world community. How are we going to connect? How are we going to build towards a future, right? And so I'm sitting there thinking like, there's so much divisiveness. And why would a black person want to deal with white folks that have a Confederate flag up or got a Blue Lives Matter flag up or any of that? And why would white people want to deal with black folks if we've decided we're not fucking with them? Well, it's white people's responsibility to make up for the goddamn racism that they've started in this country. We ain't make this shit up. We ain't start the fire. We've been trying to deal with it for hundreds of years. And it made me realize there is no black Ku Klux Klan. The black folks never said let's eradicate all the white people and then create all these laws for it. And watching white folks still support organizations and institutions that have is difficult. But again, we got to make a plan. All right. And so then that leads me to start thinking like collective work. We're going to have to work together. I don't know how that's going to actually come to fruition. And so I'm thinking all this stuff and kind of how we can unify across those lines. And then, you know, the same shit comes up to where I also realize like, yo, as a cis hetero black male, I'm feared by my own folks, not just white people. But there are black folks that just don't like me because I'm cis hetero. And it's assumed that then I don't like women that are black or I don't like queer folks that are black or there are these other assumptions. And now we got to fight within the black community. Why have any interest in fighting with other people in the black community? I don't at all. And it's not a conflict to me. If I'm supportive of my queer homies, that doesn't mean I'm anti-straight black male. And if I'm supportive of myself and being a cis hetero black male, that doesn't mean I'm anti-queer or that I'm anti-trans or that I don't like anybody. And in the art scene we're in, there's this, you know, I saw a commercial and in it, there was all these folks dancing and running around and singing and having a good time in Brooklyn. No straight black men. The only black men that folks feel comfortable with are, in their minds, effeminate. And it made me start thinking like, more divide, more division, right? And then I wake up this morning and Sadat X, who's a rapper I grew up listening to, he's part of Brand Nubian, and we already know Lord Jamar says stupid shit all the time. But Sadat X then posted something about Lil Nas X wearing a dress and kissing some man at the BET Awards and how that shouldn't be allowed. So I posted under his comments like, yo, bro, like, I feel stupid every time I champion hip-hop artists that I grew up with, and then they say dumb stuff that's anti-black people. And how you mad at love? Are we really mad that people love each other? Whether they're men and women, whatever, trans and trans. Why are we mad that people are in love? Don't we have bigger issues in terms of social justice and healthcare and access to wealth? And he came back like, yo, calling me a chump and whatever else. It's like, Sadat X, this man was 50 years old, who knows how old, and is on the internet arguing with me because I asked, why are we upset that people love each other? And if you support the black community, love is love. And if it's just fucking is fucking. I support people just having sex because they like it. And I don't care what hole they put it in or how they do it, as long as they are consenting adults. And even when I was 15, I was having sex. So I wasn't an adult. I was consenting. So I supported that shit. So I'm going to be mad that people love each other and have sex because of the genitals they have or the hormones or the way they identify. That's asinine to me. And I'm just like, I don't know how to do it, but part of my life purpose has to be a unifying effect. It has to be trying to figure out solutions so that we stop fighting each other. So that whether it's within the black community, It's queer black folks feeling like they need to be afraid of straight black men, and I understand that. Straight black men have harmed queer black men, have harmed queer black women, trans black women. All right? But on the other hand, I am in firm belief that the majority of the black family loves the rest of the black family. So that I can look at, well, black people have harmed each other through gang activity. Black people have harmed each other through drug sales. Black people have harmed each other in being anti-queer, anti-trans. But the majority of black people I know love other black people and love the black family. And so as straight black men, we may have to do things so that queer black family members understand we here for them. So I'm going to say this right now. I don't let people be anti-queer around me. I don't let people talk that anti-trans shit. And I'm still learning. I still misgender people sometimes. I still say some stupid shit. But I try to apologize. I try to learn from my mistakes and keep it moving. But I need to be clear that it's one family. It's a human fucking family. All right? And so I'm going to have to do what I have to do as a straight black man to bridge some of the chasms and the gaps between straight community and the queer community and trans community. And show love. So, like, there are artists I work with, I hope they don't get mad, but, like, my homie Ism, like, I didn't even know homie was queer. I liked their music, and we were, you know, doing shows together, and they were like, yo, thanks for supporting. And I was like, dog, I just thought you were dope. And knowing you're queer only is like, thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. Thank you for taking the risk to come out here. Because hip-hop hasn't always been so supportive of queerness. I'm not a person that's like hip-hop hates queerness, because I'm hip-hop. I don't hate queerness, right? And the homies I work with have been supportive. I've never had somebody come up to me that I work with and be like, why are you booking these gay rappers? Why are you supportive of these lesbian rappers? Why are you supportive of these trans folks? They haven't said that. Now, could we do more to be more inclusive? Yes. Could we do more to be more supportive? Yes. But I also know, like, Jay Light and a bunch of folks they work with. Like, I fucks with the homie. We're recording a song now. And so anyone who's like, hip-hop doesn't support queerness, nah. There've been queer people in hip-hop since the beginning. Look at the outfits these Bama's was wearing at the end of the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at what's really been going on out here. People been queer in hip-hop. They haven't been able to tell folks. And when I think of this concept of one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all, that is an amazing idea. Now, I'm not a patriot in the sense of I love America and America's the best place in the world ever. I don't believe in favorites or the best. But I do really like this idea of, as humans, it's one human family. And so how are we going to get through these motherfuckers that believe in the Confederate flag and the Blue Lives Matter flag? Because that shit hurts my heart. That shit really scares me. When I know that the people out here in this trailer park right down the street with guns that got the Blue Lives Matter sign up, and people down the street from them that got the Confederate flag up. We in Pennsylvania. This is north of the Mason-Dixon line. That's not a pro-South statement when you up here. That's a pro-slavery, pro-racism, pro-white supremacy statement up here. How are we going to unify that? How are we going to unify the fact that black people are angry, and we have a right to be angry? And a bunch of black people are like, yo, we're not fucking with these racist-ass white people. We're not trying to deal with them anymore. We've been dealing with them for how many hundreds of years? They're not fixing the problem that they started, right? How are we going to deal with the fact that there are folks who, as soon as they see me, I'm 6 foot, I'm black, and to me, I am masculine. I know cats think, well, you wear tights, you da-da-da. I get to define what's masculine, and I am a masculine black man. I am very forthright in my opinions. I've learned from brilliant black women, brilliant black men, brilliant trans black folks, all right? But there's not a single part of me that doesn't feel masculine. I can be masculine and not want to punch motherfuckers in the face. That's because the mind has more power than anything. The strongest weapon on earth is the human mind. So I understand being assertive. I understand being aggressive, but I don't relate those things to just maleness. The women in my life are assertive. They're aggressive. When I think of masculine, I think I live my full self as a man. And yeah, if I want to wear see-through pants, that's masculine for me. If I want to wear lace underwear, that's masculine for me. Y'all don't get to dictate what's masculine or not. And so, of course, I support other masculine black men. But do I think there's an agenda to emasculate the black man? I think there's a larger agenda to hypersexualize us and make us hyper-violent and kill each other off. I think there's a larger agenda for the government to target us and use the police as an extension of the state to murder us and to continue the state-sponsored violence. I think there's a larger agenda to make sure we don't seek health care and have preventative medical access. I think there's a larger agenda to make sure we don't have access to land and wealth. I mean, look at this. Look at all, yo, you see any projects out here? You see any big ass buildings where they stuff 1,000 people into one building? Nah, there's space all over this country. Why don't we own it? You know what I'm saying? And and included in that then means, as the black family, I would have make sure I show love to all members of the black family. And not like, well, the queer people, it's okay that they do something wrong. No, ain't nothing wrong. Nothing's wrong if you're queer. Nothing's wrong if you're trans. That's just another expression of the human experience to be loved and supported like my experience. I'm not trying to root normalcy in heteronormativity. I'm not trying to root normalcy in, to be a black man, you have to be A, B, or C. What I'm saying is, as black people within our community, we have to unify, all right? As Americans, or as humans, we have to unify and figure out what we're doing with this economic system that turns people into numbers, people into objects, people into statistics, people into resources to be used and exploited, all right? And that's the enemy right there. Ain't no human my enemy, right? My homie Ty was talking about this. I don't have no enemies. There isn't a single person in the world that's my enemy. There may be people who wish me harm, but what has happened to them? They probably have been harmed. They probably have trauma, don't know how to manage their trauma. So I have to figure out how to love those people. I have to figure out how to spread more love. And you notice the people that talk that, those are the ones that were most dangerous to the society. When you looked at what was going on with up in Chicago, and I can't believe I just blanked on homie's name, from the Black Panther Party that got assassinated by the government. Wow. Oh, damn, there's just a movie like Judas and the Black Messiah. But what they did is they formed a Rainbow Coalition where they said, yo, you poor white folks, poor Latino folks, poor black people, unify. All right? And as people that are not capitalists, as people that are proletariats, we have to unify. The real fight is with the motherfuckers in the 1% that own everything. All right? The top 5% of people in this country dictate what happens to 95% of us. That's the real thing. And even then, they aren't our enemies. Even then, they just humans that are in a certain economic position. But at this point, I'm tired of all the fighting, the infighting. I'm tired of this idea that, well, me as a straight black male, I must hate queer black men. We got to do more as straight black men to show love towards the queer black men and trans black folks and everyone in the family so that we can all work together, so that we can all support each other. We all need love. And look what's going on out there. Melissa's in a boat out in the middle of this pond. This is what, this is life also. When people are like, life is horrible and it's all death and destruction and humans always hate humans and humans have been killing humans forever. That's not true. That's what the colonists want you to believe. People say, well, all humans are racist. That's not true. That's what the colonists want you to believe. All right? And so, I don't know. It's just stuff I've been thinking about. And I hope, we can build and exchange some ideas on how to solve some of these problems and stop arguing with each other. But also recognize the reality of, like, that Confederate flag means something dangerous to me. That Blue Lives Matter flag means something dangerous to me. And it lets me know that if you a cop and they got these Blue Lives Matter flags in the police station, that's secessionist to me. That's anti-patriotic to me. The fact that any governor or any mayor or anybody in the government lets that shit ride, it shows where the problems are. All right? And so if any of y'all are involved in government, if any of y'all have access to people that work in police, let them know there's one flag. It's the American flag. And if that flag has been changed to be a blue